hundreds of thousands of years. Depending on whose calendar you go to, that time can change. Go ahead.
Okay, like in referring to the planet Om and it exploding and producing the other galaxies, I was trying to take it, was it back in that period of time with that solar system, the sun side, or after this?
I'm not sure.
Dealing with the what he just finished questioning about, like in the beginning was saying that we were existing in air pockets.
Okay.
I was trying to get a clear visual picture of that. How was that possible?
See, the key word that you used in there was you said, I'm trying to get a clearer visual picture. And your vision, or our vision, has been clouded by these things that we call eyes, which interpret colors and all type of glitter. When they're making reference to that, it's before you had eyes. It's before you had a nose and a physical composition, when you existed as an Etherian.
But you could how could you describe it as air pockets? That's something that we can refer to as, so for us to understand what it was. You know what I'm saying?
How could you refer to it?
Like air pockets. When you say air pockets, I get a visual of an air pocket. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get a clearer mental vision of how it existed at that time, not, more so than just air pockets.
Okay, and the reason air pockets was used is because it's something you can relate to. When this is a problem that Nietzsche Affinity Atumre has had for years. He said he's trying to teach people of things that, and these people live here, we live here on earth, so everything he's teaching us, he has to try to give us something that we can relate to. You understand? So if he says air pockets, if he took us any further than that, we'd say, what is that? Because it'd be taking you outside of this planet's physical existence. It's the same type of question we asked him one day. We said, are there trees in Ilium? And he said, yes. But he said, but they don't look like these. And we said, so what does it look like? He said, they look like these. Because there's nothing here on this planet that he would be able to give us that we can say, oh, you understand? This is, again, these are things that we'll learn about. This is why the Black Book, I haven't read it, but he said it's coming out to give us more information. But again, with each thing he's giving us, he has to give us information of things we can relate to. So we'll be able to say, oh, that's what it meant. Understood? All right.
What's the difference between dissipation and expansion? Dealing with, us, once we let go of this.
Dissipation and expansion. Anybody have a dictionary? No, I'm just joking. Expansion simply means religion teaches us, and our Pharaoh Atumre addressed it this way. Religion teaches us that when you die, you go to heaven. Correct? The ancients, or the Nitiru, the ancient ones, they taught and they knew, as we are taught and we know today, that when one died or ceased to breathe physically, your essence expanded back into the universe, to its respective place, as a part of the universe, or a part of all, they would say. Now, dissipation means to eliminate or remove something. When you die physically, your physical body dissipates or decomposes back into the soil. That's the physical manifestation of you. The etheric manifestation of us goes back into the universe.
Isn't that like expansion then?
Yes, but one is going into a form that's not tangible by your and my definition of things that are tangible, and one is going back into a form of something that we refer to as tangible, the soil. Understood? Two different states of existence. Any other questions?
Please, in reading the tablets in the beginning, I had come over some information a while back. He talked about an experiment that happened in Philadelphia where some scientists had a theory by Einstein where they tried to teleport this ship. And in doing so, there were two gentlemen on the ship who jumped overboard and they happened to land elsewhere, somewhere in New York. And it talked about the biorhythms of these two individuals. The question is, what was the mechanism that the scientists were trying to create in which these two gentlemen were teleported somewhere else?
Okay, first of all, realize it wasn't Albert Einstein that was working on the Philadelphia experiment. He was working in Princeton University on the Manhattan Project at the time. The scientist that was involved in the Philadelphia experiment was a man named Nikola Tesla. He was the one that also worked with other scientists like von Neumann, etc., Schrödinger. Now, the experiment was an invisibility project, because remember at the time America was in a war, and they were trying to work on being able to make their ships invisible to the enemy. Now, the scientists that they called together were the top physicists and mathematicians on the planet at the time, the Germans, keeping in mind that these are the same Germans that were dealing with these beings from Aldebaran and Plates, that were giving them information. Now, first they made a dry run, or a run where they made the ship disappear with no crew members on it. They didn't have a problem. The problem only took place August 12th of 1943, because that was the Earth's birthday. That was when the Earth peaked its biorhythm, because the Earth is also a living entity, though religion doesn't want to deal with that. Where we're standing, or sitting right now, is a living, breathing entity that hurts, that cries, that goes through all the same things you and I go through. That's why it's called Mater Nature, or Mother Nature. Living, a living being. Overstood? Now, the Earth's birthday was August 12th at that time. When this experiment took place, it locked, or what's called locked in hyperspace. Meaning if you went from 1943, where they disappeared, and they popped back up in 1983, overstood? That 40 years, time locked. Now, the proof of time locking is they'll say nothing new under the sun. Since that time, all we're doing, we don't make any new music, we just redo other people's music. We don't make any new clothing styles, we just bring back old styles. Everything has locked itself. And it takes one to come amongst us to take us up out of that locked space, that locked time. Beings have to come in. Overstood? And this is what's taking place. Continue the question, more into it.
Well, another thing that I was kind of baffled with is I'm trying to understand when he talks about light speed, and that we live, which is called, we live day to day, or we can think about yesterday, or we can think about the future, whereas the Alun is, their time is now. And I'm trying to understand how the difference in terms of light speed, because he deals with a lot of like 56 trillion years ago and things. I'm trying to, as the young lady said, trying to understand or visualize the time speed, or our time opposed to their time.
Okay, the problem with our time is influenced by society. If you were living in a village somewhere in Africa, your interpretation of time would be different. Because over there, they're not necessarily working off of a clock, or a literal watch with digital, or the hands moving. Overstood? They may be dealing off the appearance of the sun and the disappearance of the sun. Overstood? Now, the Anunnaki, or the Nitiru, the ancient ones, their time system is based on real time, on Earth's birth time, or the ancient beings of Tamare referred to it as melodic. Because their time then was based upon the Nile River, which is what we also call true time. Overstood? Now, your time today, everything again is based on society. Some people's time, some people's day starts at 5 in the morning, if that's when they have to be to work. Others, your day may end at 5 in the morning, because that's the time you're coming from work. There are those who sleep during the day because they work at night, and there's those who work during the day and sleep at night. So that in itself is a problem. Overstood? Again, so our time, or the Nawapian nation of Moors, our time is based on our calendar. This is why you have to give us a calendar. You have to give us a time. Now you mentioned about past, present, and future, as opposed to the Nitiru dealing with now. Now encompasses all time. Now helps us to realize or recognize that there is no such thing as past, there is no such thing as present, and there is no such thing as future. It's like the grooves of a record, but a continual spiral where it doesn't pick up and starts another line. Your time started at the moment of conception, or actually 3 months prior to conception started your time. Overstood? And that time is continuous. It all still exists. Yesterday still exists. Because at what point did yesterday end? See, the trick was to say, well, 12 midnight starts a new day. By who? Because 12 midnight here is not 12 midnight in China. It is not 12 midnight in London, England. They have all these different time zones. All of this was done to confuse